Now, the rise of a new politically savvy youth population in Nigeria is potentially having an impact on the 2023 campaign trail. A growing number of youth organizations and political parties are urging young voters in the upcoming presidential elections to take back Nigeria for themselves. The youth, of course, make up the largest voting bloc in this country. So if they all turn out to vote, such a surge will not only be a big factor in 2023, it could be the deciding influence. Well, the emphasis is on the word could, because if the predicted swell doesn't materialize and instead becomes just a temporary fad that'll falter and fail to take off, then it's all for naught, isn't it? And that great idea of building a new politically, economically and socially connected world that is facilitated by the power of the youth will simply fade away. But the gamble appears to be that they will turn out, and so the political parties are fighting hard to get them on side. But which one of them is commanding the largest and most loyal youth following, and why? Well, to pitch their opposing viewpoints, I'm joined now in the studio by Segun Tomori, who's a member of the Strategic Communications Directorate of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, and Isaac Balami, who's Deputy National Campaign Manager of the Labour Party. Thank you very much indeed to both of you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start with you, Segun. Is the youth surge going to be a big factor in 2023?
Absolutely. It will be a big factor, and we are working to get majority on our side.
Well, tell us why you think it'll be a big factor.
Because out of the recently registered new voters, fresh voters, we have at least 71% between the ages of 18 to 35 among the fresh voters, and there seem to be an enthusiasm of young voters this time. In other elections we have, most young people are always passive about voting, but this time we're poised to see a change in that. There's enthusiasm, there's awareness, and they want to really participate. So the youth board will play a decisive role in this election, and my candidate and my party are poised to convince the majority to back my candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, as the best man for the job and the best youth candidate in this forthcoming elections.
Even though he's, eons ahead of them in terms of age.
Well, if you look at the median of presidents and prime ministers across even developed countries, you see that is an average of 70 and above. The US president, for instance, is the oldest first-term president at 78. We've seen Donald Trump was in his 70s when he became president and all that. We've seen even President Ramaphosa of South Africa is in his 70s. So age is not a problem. Age becomes a problem when the person you're presenting doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the administrative acumen, to lead. But our candidate has not only the administrative acumen, he has the experience, he has the exposure, he has the competence. And I'll use the words he said when he was running for president early in the year, when he paid the incumbent president, Muhammadu Buhari, a visit to intimate him on his ambition. He said three things that were striking to me as a young person and to many young people in my party. He said, I have the capacity, I have the competence, and I have the vision to rule. I think that, for me, it's the confidence, aside from its trajectory of leadership, of progressive governance in Lagos, conceptualizing the master plan for Lagos development, 25-year master plan, that has now been rolled over with a fresh 30-year master plan by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. So he has laid that trajectory as somebody that can bequeath progressive governance in Lagos, and he's somebody that's raised leaders. When he was governor, most of the people around him are young people. Even today, if you look, the close circle of Asiwaju Tinubu, his close aides, personal assistants, special assistants are young people. And I will tell you what is striking, with my own personal experience with him. Early in the year, before he became presidential candidate, when he was running the primaries, I met him at a strategy session in Lagos. We had a close meeting, not many people, maybe less than 20. And when I started speaking, I spoke extempore. At the point, somebody tried to cut me shot to say, oh, he has another appointment. Do you know what Ashwaju told him? Ashwaju told the person, is it your time? I will borrow him my time. Let him continue.
Okay, well, I have to interrupt you this time because this is, I mean, I understand the point you're laying out, but we're going to come back to you in a minute. But let me come to you, Mr. Ballamy, because we started off on the point of whether or not the youth are going to be a deciding factor in this election, or will that depend on turnout? And if it does, I mean, that could fail or falter, couldn't it?
You see, 100%, I can assure you that yes, the youth will be a deciding factor. In the new registered voters alone, youth is over 70%, like he did mention. Women, over 50%, about 50.8%. You see, Uncle Charles, there's never been a time in the history of Nigeria where people, on their own accord, nobody is bribing them or inducing them with money. They came out on their own in their millions to talk about our candidate, Peter Obi.
How do you know they came out in their millions?
They came out in their millions because we saw all the 1 million man march across the country.
Yeah, but
it's organic.
That wasn't necessarily 1 million people.
It doesn't matter, but you see, they came out for 1 million.
Large numbers.
In large numbers.
Right,
and
okay.
They came out, nobody paid them. This has never, ever happened in the history of the country. And let me tell you why. It's because I just left APC. Everybody is tired. Anybody, any well-meaning Nigeria who has conscience, who is truthful to him or herself, knows that APC and PDP is game over for them. Because you see, you cannot keep lying to people over and over. You cannot, you see, you saw the mass population, the youth that came out. These are the youth that the old parties have used in the past, you know, and they're saying, go and use your children. You can't keep your children in Switzerland, you can't keep your children in Dubai, in America, you know, in Banana Island, and you expect us to keep fighting for you when you don't even care about our future. You don't even care about us. And I'm from Borno State. One thing you need to know, go and check, and you see these things are there. I can assure you that majority, if not all, of the people following Peter Obi and Dati, they are doing it at their own accord. Look at me. I left my business. I run the biggest aircraft maintenance facility across the entire West and Central Africa. I have my own airline.
Right.
But I left all that comfort. How many youth today, whether old or young, in all those parties can boast? Most of them are there to benefit. And you see, we're okay with it. We in Labour Party, we're okay because you see, all the kind of money and the resources that is being shared is mostly stolen fund. Because nobody will actually work hard earn money and be given thousands of dollars to delegate. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. But you see, when that money is not yours, you will spend it as if you don't care. You know, and this is money that belongs to the Nigerian people. This is money that belongs to you and I. That is why we have no good road. We have no good hospitals. We know that after every 10 years, Cameroon will release the dam and there will be flood. What did you do about it? Years over years, decade over decade, there's no plan at all. This is the only country where people, you know, you keep students at home for about 8 months and you don't care. So for us, the issue of Labour Party is survival of Nigeria. We're not doing this thing. I've not been to my state, my village, freely to Borno State, Borno South, in the last 10 years. It's not a joke, but we're not talking about money. That is why for anybody who has conscience, who is sensible, this is not time to talk about what you benefit.
Right, okay.
We're in Labour Party. We know that the party, by the way, the party has been on since 2002. It's an old party. It belongs to civil servants, yes, mostly workers. You know, it's not that popular. But let me tell you this, everybody is tired. Everybody is tired, and that is why we're here today.
Let me give Segun Tomori of the APC a chance to respond. I wonder if you can connect to some of the things he's saying about the problems in this country as a young person. I mean, irrespective of which party you belong to, and whether or not you agree with him that is what has awakened this sleeping giant that is the youth of Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. I would respond to him and I would add my thoughts. He said, he made mention of the old order. So that is insinuating his candidate belongs to the new order. And I'll puncture that. That is false. His candidate belongs to the old order. His candidate was part of PDP, was actually chairman, Security Exchange Commission, appointed by President Jonathan of the PDP. He was a member of PDP, he was a member of APGA before he crossed over. So, I would liken his candidate to a Moses, raised by Pharaoh, positioning himself as a Moses, raised by Pharaoh. So it is that same deceit that he is using. This candidate is using that deceit. He's using sophistry. He's using, pandering towards demagoguery to sway and hoodwink Nigerians, to see him as a part of the new order. He's never a new order. He's part of that old order. But when you now compare this candidate, his candidate, and any other candidate in this election, I want to talk about my candidate, why I feel that my candidate is the best choice for Nigerian youth. For instance, we have a youth bulge, like you say. We have a high unemployment rate, and even though this administration has done a lot, in terms of employment and empowerment, the Empower program, the different youth programs. For instance, in the Ministry of Youth and Sports, I know that there are a lot of empowerment programs like cybersecurity training, in collaboration with Allogen, that just trained 31,000, and they're scaling it up. I attended the program 2 days ago, and the minister said, they are trying to scale that up to at least 250,000 more people. You have the DEAL program, digital entrepreneurship, empowerment, and leadership scheme. The DEAL has empowered and trained, tens of thousands, if not close to hundreds of thousands, but it still pales into insignificance when you compare it with Nigeria's population. The youth population in Nigeria is estimated to be around 130 million. About 65% of Nigerian population is said to be youth. So despite the interventions of the present administration in different areas, including credit facilities for SMEs, I saw that at least over 712,000, Nigerians have benefited from the targeted credit facility of the CBN in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. I've also seen that over close to 225,000 Nigerians have benefited from the MSMEs Development Fund, but still, it seems like it's a drop in the ocean, because the Credit Bureau Association of Nigeria, for instance, said 4% of Nigeria's MSMEs have access to credit, which means there's a lot of work to do. And Asiwaju Tinubu understands this, and that's why we are backing him. For instance, Asiwaju Tinubu plans to create industrial zones, major and minor industrial zones across the 6 geopolitical zones that will harness, resources that each region have comparative advantage. For instance, in the North Central, for instance, solid minerals will be our focus, will be the focus of President Bola Tinubu, harnessing it, exploiting it in collaboration with the private sector, to create jobs for Nigerians. I'll also cite an instance. What I'm saying is not sophistry, because we have a background. We have a record to look back on. I'll talk about the Lekki Free Trade Zone, which was conceptualized under Asiwaju Tinubu. Today, Lekki Free Trade Zone, some days ago, launched, they commissioned the Lekki Deep Sea Port, a $1.5 billion deep sea port, which would generate 200,000 jobs for Nigerian youth. And we also have the Dangote refinery, which also generates several thousands of jobs and all that. So imagine a country, a president, like Asiwaju Tinubu, that creates that kind of zones in every geopolitical zones, brings private sector, liberalize whatever bottlenecks, maybe bureaucratic bottlenecks, legal bottlenecks, to ensure that ease of doing business is incentivized by government and all that. So those are part of the initiatives,
Okay.
And I can go on and on.
No, I know you can go on, but we have to give him a chance to come in. And Mr. Balami, obviously he was talking about the things he sees his party, the APC, the candidate, aiming to do for Nigerians. Obviously, it's a promissory note. It hasn't happened, but he's saying, look at what we've done, and therefore, draw your conclusions from that. What is the Labour Party's message to the youth? Because a lot of what he was saying, Mr. Tamori was saying, is directly aimed at the youth, because they're the ones who need those jobs.
You see, let me just tell you this. You see, anybody who says that peterobi is an old order, the person knows his self-deceit is lying to him or herself. It's obvious. I mean, go and check it out. Let me just tell you this, sir. The Labour Party have Peter Obi and Dati. These are not people that are saying, it is my turn, it is my right. In fact, they acknowledge that the popularity in the last 3-4 months and the acceptability is not even their effort. They acknowledge that. And you can see there's no who in 2, 3, 4 months will have such level of followership. Let me tell you this. Nigerians are running through Obi and Dati. The other people feel it is their right. They feel this country belongs to them. They feel nobody can do it. They feel money can do it. But we have Obi and Dati saying, we cannot do this thing. Your children need to go to good schools. And they have proven it. Our vice president, this is somebody who, as a senator, former senator, he's built one of the biggest hospitals in West Africa. He has one of the most successful and accomplished based university, still counting. As an individual, he did that. His Excellency Peter Obi, hopefully by the grace of God, the incoming president, it is obvious. He never said he wasn't part of PDP or APC. He left because he couldn't stand it anymore. He said, Nigerians, it is your time to take back this country. He said, hold me accountable. You see, the problem is that we cannot do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. You and I agree that there's no difference between APC and PDP.
But in fairness to Mr. Tamori, he was pointing to very concrete things to say, this is what we have done, and based on this, this is what we are going to do. That's why I asked you what your message is to the youth. Is that message that this country has been under attack from the old-style politicians who run the APC and the PDP, and that the youth need to join the political fight to save this country? Or are you actually going to say to them, this is what we, the Labour Party, are bringing to the table to transform your lives, rather than just criticizing what the other people have done?
His Excellency Peter Obi, who, when he was a governor, today he is talking about consumption to production. You can see what he has done with even Innocent Motors. He believes in local content. Let me tell you what I've not actually told you before. You know what he did, the numbers of cars he allowed Innocent to produce. Today, Innocent is doing so well because of that push by the state government. He paid him upfront and demand delivered. Today, let me tell you this. I've not said this to anybody. Last year, December, His Excellency, our vice presidential candidate, Yusuf Dati, was to send his private jet to UK for annual maintenance. Then he heard that there is a company in Lagos doing maintenance. This man is a Fulani man. I'm a Christian from Borno State. He never asked what is this guy's tribe or anything. He said if there's a local company doing it, he asked the captain to suspend the flight plan. He said, fly my aircraft to Nigeria. I was told that a Nigerian company does this job. These are people that Peter will prove it with Innocent Motors, and he believes that we can move from consumption to production. He never denied that he is somebody who is into production, but he said it's better, it is the future. And Dati Baba Ahmed has proven it by taking job meant for the expatriate community in UK. That job alone fed about 20 families in Lagos State. I'm talking about high-paying jobs as aeronautical aircraft engineers. These are the kind of people that we have doing this whole thing. And you see, he's talking about agriculture. He has broken it down already. You know, the issue of education. You're talking about the same APC that the Almajiri schools that were built, they came and they closed it down. You see, you know what Peter Obi did? He moved from about average to #1 in JAM and WAEC. These are verifiable evidence. He did it. So it's not about, when he's saying he's coming to ensure that we are top in education, in production, we have seen what he's done. And amongst all of them, we've seen people that are selling things to themselves because they had the red pen. We've seen people that almost all the land, you know, in the state that they govern is virtually in their names or in the names of their cronies. They've empowered people that are close to them, you know, and there's no equity and justice. We've seen His Excellency Peter Obi. He has been so fair and just.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Tamori. You talked a little bit about what your manifesto is taking into account and how it plans to cater for the youth. Do you think you have more youth support than the other front-runner candidates? Your party, your candidate?
You know, I would like to say it this way. We are in the race to win the elections. So it's still early days, you know, you can't say. And if you ask me, a very creditable rating agency, Fitch, you know, did a rating, I think about 2 weeks ago, that projected Asiwaju Tinubu as a likely winner. So they must have done their projection based on, you know, verifiable data.
Yeah,
and
but
everything.
to be fair, other people have also done something that gave the thing to the other part.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, you know, at this point, I can tell you, I know we have substantial support, of course, overwhelming support of Nigerians, but our aim is to go to the finish line, go strong into the finish line. And how do we do that? We do that by convincing majority of youth that we are the youth candidate. We have the youth candidate.
So you don't agree with him?
No, I'm going to
let me just say this. You don't agree with him that the APC is the problem that young people need to rescue Nigeria from, because that's the central point that he's making, given the track record over the last 8 years.
Mr. Charles, when he says young people need to rescue Nigeria from, I wonder what they are rescuing them from. And two, you know, for instance, this candidate, you know, postures as...
He made the point
I'm going there.
You said you're wondering what... He said very clearly that the country needs to be rescued from corruption, from people who think the country belongs to them. I'm going to address all that.
I'm going to address all that. You know, he is posturing his candidate, you know, as the one that the youth should fall back on and all that. The same candidate that says, oh, he has one wristwatch and all that, he has just one wristwatch as governor and this, that, you know, the same candidate that wants to glamorize poverty instead of fighting poverty. We are telling Nigerians
how is he glamorizing
we are telling Nigerians that
how is he glamorizing poverty?
We are telling Nigerians that we want to fight poverty. We are not trying to glamorize poverty. We're not trying to say, I had one shoe or I didn't have any shoe. In this country, we had a former leader that said, that pandered to the, you know, sentiments of Nigerians, that said he didn't have shoes and all that. Nigerians are not going to buy that. He ended up to be one of the clueless administration, you know, that we had to remove in 2015. So what we are telling Nigerians is we have the plan. We have a renewed, our manifesto, the renewed hope, has plans for youth that are verifiable, that are measurable. This is not sophistry like the other party. It is not deceit like they want to do or to give Nigerians. And for instance, one of what we are putting on the table, Asiwaju Tinubu has promised that at least 3 cabinet positions will be reserved for youth 40 and below. Another 6 for 50 and below. Then he also said there will be a presidential directive that at least 20% of political appointments into MDAs will go to youth below 40. Those are tangible, those are verifiable tangibles that you can, you know, take us to account when he becomes president. Aside that, you know, we look at other areas like Nollywood. For instance, Nollywood is the second largest producer of movies in the world, you know, employing at least 1 million Nigerians, even though it's informal, without government incentives or, you know, investments and all that. Actually, is going to change that. There's a plan to have a replica of the Dubai Media City in Nigeria that would develop the whole value chain of Nollywood, you know, bring private investor in collaboration with private investors and all that to ensure that we can even raise that 1 million, you know, people that are employed in Nollywood to at least 5 million. Those are tangibles that are in the manifesto that you can judge us with to say, we said this, we'll do this in Nollywood and all that. And aside that...
Well, we're waiting for their manifesto.
Yes.
So when that comes out, we can make the comparison.
So aside that, there's also the plan, you know, to incentivize industries, or manufacturing industries that employ young people. You know, there will be a presidential policy that will say if you employ a certain percentage of young people, you know, you put them through job mentoring programs and all that, you get tax rebates, you know, incentives, tax holidays and all that. So those are part of the plans.
That's a very progressive idea.
Thank you very much.
Because that happens a lot in the West.
Thank you very much. And I'm not done.
But we have to move on. We've just got about 5 minutes left. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I think I need to bring you in because we've talked about what we can do or what we can't do. But your critics, those who criticize the young supporters of the Labour Party, say that their support has taken on a new intensity such that it is potentially fracturing the country. Anyone who doesn't support your cause, particularly those who are not necessarily affiliated with any party, but disagree with you, is immediately characterized as an enemy of progress and is roundly chastised, often using very extreme language. What's your reaction to that?
Okay, thank you. Just to answer that briefly, let me tell him that our candidate is not glorifying poverty. This is somebody who took 1 million and gave to graduates. Who has done that in this country? This is somebody who moved his state to #1 in education. I mean, these are verifiable facts. When you talk about youth, today, out of the 6 in the last list released by the party, Labour Party, out of the top 6 management team, I, Balami, Isaac, David, I am on the top management team. How many youth below 40, like myself, has any of those parties put at that level? That is one. If you look at the structure where I am in Labour Party, with where he is low below, because Labour Party understands that. Labour Party understands that very, very well. And let me tell you this, over 40% of our campaign, our presidential campaign council are all women. We're not joking. Come and see the level of youth participation. You see what yesterday His Excellency was on Zoom for about 3 hours. By the time he was done, the meeting was over. He said, please, I'm giving 30 more minutes. Let me hear more from the women. So what you've just said now, you see, Uncle Charles.
You can just call me Charles.
Yeah, Charles. Let me just tell you this. Our principal have been very, very clear on non-violence campaign. Every day, even yesterday, he talked about it. Even yesterday, to the support groups, about 900 people participated in that meeting. Let me tell you this. Nigeria, the Labour Party youth or the obedient youth are even patient. This is the only country. Go to what caused about the crisis in the Middle East. 5% increase of bread alone will cause problem. You kept them at home. This same APC kept our youth at home for 8 months, and they want them to clap for them.
So you think they have a right to be angry?
They have the right to be angry.
Yeah, but not to attack.
No, they're not attacking. Let me tell you this.
No, but to be
APC,
fair, they're not physically attacking.
They're not attacking physically.
But they are attacking people.
Let me just tell you this, Charles.
On the internet.
APC did a casket
on social media.
APC did a casket of President Goodluck Jonathan.
Yeah.
Has Obedient done that to anybody? Even when they are going for medical treatment. Have we done that?
Yeah, but they are pitching this political fight as an apocalyptic battle between good and evil.
They are only scared. They are only scared.
And surely you must see that when you do that, when you pitch the battle as big, this is good, this is evil, it employs the kind of language that could be used to incite people.
Let me just tell you this. Our principal is clear about non-violence. Even yesterday, he talked about it to about 800 conveners of support groups. He was explicit about it.
I'm sure he doesn't support.
But let me just tell you this. What I'm saying is that these people in APC, you see, they expect Nigerian youth to clap for them, despite 33% people are on the street without jobs. Despite all the hardship, you're a poor person, they kidnap you, or they kidnap your loved ones. Even when you want to build the state, you are even going against the law. So many things is just wrong. Nigerian youth are even patient. I have never seen youth in the world that are this patient. Let me tell you this, APC did worse to PDP. Anywhere you see PDP or APC gathered, they're only discussing peterobi. Let's be realistic. I've bumped into their meeting not once, not twice. They know, because everything is organic. Do you know that we went to Nasarawa? The venue, which is illegal, right? The venue for Nasarawa rally flag off. The venue was denied. They kept frustrating us 24 hours.
That is wrong.
24 hours to the flag off was when we got approval. We had to go to the emir of Lafia to get approval to use the football field. Where our principal will land with the helicopter, they frustrated us and delayed us. All this drama is going on. We're not even talking. Did our youth fight the government of Nasarawa? We did not. So much is going on. Are you with me? Okay, there are states where APC, he's talking here, even to have billboard, they're blocking us.
Yeah,
because they're scared. They're intimidated already.
I haven't.
But guess what our supporters told us, Charles? They said, sir, even if they block us in APC and PDP states, Peter Obi and Dati are in our heart. They said that.
Yeah, well, I have to say that I cannot verify everything you've said, but I have heard reports that supports the point that you make. Let me come to you, Segun, because you have to admit that even though the reaction of some of the Labour Party people may sometimes be strong, but there is some justification in a person reacting when they feel that their country has been wrecked with, and it's not me saying it, I'm just saying that that's the impression they give, that their country has been wrecked with a mismanaged economy, rising unemployment, rising debt, and the lack of social justice, deepening insecurity, and they hold the APC responsible for mortgaging their future and essentially wasting their heritage. I mean, you surely you can see. Yeah, of course.
You've used very strong
well,
words,
it's a fact. You have rising debt.
Categorize. Can I explain? Because I won't want you to cut me.
Go ahead.
Cut me in.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So he spoke about unemployment and the whole. Everybody is aware, or most Nigerians are aware that the global economic headwinds is not only restricted to Nigeria. I am aware, and they can check, like they say, they should go and verify. The unemployment rate in South Africa jumped by 4.3% to 33.56% this year. It is verifiable.
Yeah, but that's no consolation to the Nigerian.
It's not consolation. I'm telling you that Nigeria is not isolated in the global village, and I made that statement to you. I explained that extempore when I came the last time. So things are happening. We have surging prices across even developed countries, and all that. So, but what we are saying is this administration has done its bit. We are bringing somebody that is pragmatic, that is a visionary, somebody that can think out of the box, to scale whatever improvements we might have achieved under this administration. So when you say this country, wrecked, mismanaged, and all that,
I'm saying that is their
I'm also
argument.
going to remind you and remind Nigerians that in 2015, when the APC took over power, at least 27 states could not pay salaries. I think that's a fact. And there had to be bailouts, several bailouts for states to pay salaries and all that. That doesn't show a buoyant economy or a prosperous
but he's
country.
Not talking about. He's not part of the PDP.
I'm referring to you.
Yeah.
You're saying APC wrecked this. You said something like wreck, mismanagement, and all that. We took over a country, that 27 out of 36 states could not pay salaries. That is a dead straight in any economy.
Let's be calm.
Yeah, it's a dead straight.
We're having a discussion.
We have.
Not a fight.
It's not a fight. So
good.
If we, sorted that out, bailouts and all that, we also have the most ambitious infrastructural development program under this administration. Infrastructure that 16 years of the former party could not build. We've had rails, Lagos Ibadan Expressway. We have Warri Itakpe Railway and several other infrastructure projects.
But the key thing with infrastructure,
among other things,
the key thing with infrastructure is what's difference. If you borrow money to build something, the hope is that the money you borrowed, you would be able to pay it back because what you built is contributing to development of the economy. What I'm trying to understand is the things that you mentioned.
Yes, please.
How have they verifiably changed and progressed the Nigerian economy?
Anywhere in the world, Mr. Charles.
I'm not talking about anywhere in the world. I'm talking about in Nigeria.
I have to tell you, within Nigeria is not isolated. Infrastructural renewal anywhere in the world is part of plans to boost and jumpstart economies. So you can't tell me that spending on infrastructure, doesn't have a nexus with economic improvement. That is false.
No.
That's what you're insinuating.
No. I said to you.
So we are not borrowing for recurrent expenditure. For instance,
what I'm saying to
we are not borrowing for recurrent expenditure.
What difference has it made?
And the difference it makes is because that infrastructure triggers economic development. It triggers productivity. When you have good roads, for instance, road from market to city, urban area to rural area and all that,
But I mean, if you look at the percentage of roads you've done, they're minimal when you compare the amount of work that needs to be done to actually have a transformative effect.
Can you change an infrastructural deficit of 45 years? Can you change it in 7 years? I ask you.
No. I'm not the one to answer that question because I'm not in government.
I'm putting it to you. I'm putting it to you because
that's in government.
No. I'm putting it to you. If you have an infrastructural deficit of 45 years, and you expect it to be corrected in 7 years, you know.
Well, the argument is not it's not between you and me. It's between
no. You're
and
actually
the other
intercepting
political
me
parties.
because I was speaking.
I am asking
so
you,
I have to respond to you.
I understand that.
Because you didn't allow me to respond to
questions.
him.
I am asking
you get, and I have to
specific
speak.
questions.
You're not allowing me to speak.
No. You've spoken.
No.
You've taken quite a bit of time to speak.
Yes.
What happens is that when you make certain statements,
yes.
it is my job to clarify that statement for our audience.
Yes.
Which is why I sometimes interrupt you and I interrupt
yes,
you.
But most times you don't let me get to the finish line.
That's not. You're not being straightforward.
You don't let me get to the finish line.
I'm a very fair person, and we've almost run out of time. So let me have you.
Like now, you didn't let me finish my thoughts.
Yeah, but the problem is that we have 1 minute.
Yeah, but you didn't allow me. And you're going to give him so much time. You didn't allow me to finish.
You've spoken more than me.
You see, the problem is this.
Okay.
You have to circumscribe what you say. Okay?
No,
let me give you 30 seconds and I'll give him 30 seconds. Finish what you have to say.
30 seconds.
We're literally out of time.
I want to speak to Nigerians directly and the youths like me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Asiwaju Tinubu is the authentic youth candidate. We cannot allow ourselves to be hoodwinked by sophistry, by people that do not have an antecedent, of progressive governance, that do not have an antecedent of exemplary leadership, where they've been given the opportunity to serve. We have seen Lagos. Lagos is the benchmark. We've seen Lagos. We've seen development. The former Lekki area was formerly Morocco, was a squalor in Lagos before. I was born and bred in Lagos. We've seen the development there, multi-billion-dollar development, private sector government and all that. And it is still improving. So we are bringing an Asiwaju Tinubu that understands, for instance, true federalism. He understands that we need to devolve power to states and the LGs for better performance, for seamless coordination and synergy of performance between the federal and the federating units. And that's also part of our plan. And we also have different programs for the youth, which I have outlined, which time will not permit me to outline.
Okay.
So I call on every youth and every Nigerian to support the winning team, support the man that knows the way and knows the road, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we will have you come back again so you have more time
to
speak. And let me give you the final word, Mr. Balami.
My fellow Nigerians, brothers and sisters, youth and women, elders, we just want to thank you from the Labour Party and on behalf of Obi and Dati for the love, for the support, for using your resources, for telling the big parties that their money cannot buy you anymore. We want to assure you that in the next couple of weeks, we'll be visiting you in your ward, in your polling unit, and we'll be training you on how to defend the vote on that day. They said we're only 4 in a room tweeting. Now they saw us in our millions on the streets. Please, let's not give up. Let us rescue this country from the hand of those people, and I can assure you that Obi and Dati will not disappoint you.
Okay.
Let's make this happen, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Isaac Balami is the Deputy National Campaign Manager of the Labour Party, and Segun Tomori is a member of the Strategic Communications Directorate of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you very much
indeed
indeed
for having
to both
me
of
once
you.
again.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting discussion, and I think both of you made your points very well for your respective parties.